Welcome back to Men and the City. It's a beautiful day outside in Palermo, the Palermo neighborhood in Buenos Aires, so I thought I could get out and walk and talk with you. So today's video is going to be called, Is Tyler Durden Building an Army? So when I embarked upon my current path, if you want to call it that, when I left the corporate world and I was contemplating starting a new business or a series of businesses. I wanted to set up a blog. Of course, I never envisioned setting up a YouTube channel and becoming a social media persona, per se. But at the inception of Men in the City was Fight Club. And I think Fight Club, as a movie, as a book, and it's an excellent book as well, you should definitely read it, defines, in some sense, multiple generations of men. I can't really overstate the importance of that film. And even to this day, while the film continues to resonate, there is a bit of a conundrum as to why it resonates. And certainly for a lot of people, especially people that are more left-wing, but even some people that are traditionally conservative, they're very hostile to what that film addresses. There's a lot of extremism in Fight Club. There are a lot of ideas, Nietzschean ideas, nihilistic ideas. But at the core of that film and the book, in my view, and the reason it struck such a chord, the reason it resonated with me, is because I think there's a collective recognition that something is wrong in modern society. And specifically, something was wrong for men. Men felt unfulfilled. We felt out of place. And furthermore, we felt a sense of pressure, a sense of stress and anxiety from a system literally compressing us into a certain role or a certain self-worth that nobody really liked, nobody really agreed with. And so Fight Club centered around a figure, a man named Tyler Durden, who is this sort of Ubermensch-like figure, or a kind of imagined idyllic man to break out of this prison of modernity, a prison defined by materialism, consumerism, nihilism in some sense, a loss of faith, feminism, wokeism, a cocktail of various compressive forces that men feel we need to break free from. And so in the film, Tyler Durden, this imagined character, becomes the centerpiece of that effort at achieving liberation. Now, obviously, what he endeavors to do in terms of creating a revolution of sorts under the umbrella of what comes to be called Project Mayhem, and it targets specifically the financial system, which is the epicenter of the material or consumerist corporate world that Fight Club militates against. That is less important, in my view, than thinking about what Tyler or who Tyler Durden actually represents. And this is where I think my views depart from a lot of people. I don't think that Tyler Durden is a character per se that the narrator of the film imagines. I don't think he is the protagonist per se. I think that Tyler Durden represents all men. And I think that that's why the film resonates as strongly as it does. And ultimately, Fight Club is just that. It is about a group of men or a club of men who are coming together in a common enterprise of revolt. And so that's why in the very first essay that I wrote on Men in the City, which advanced this idea that I called Neo-Masculinity, it had its genesis in that same kind of concept, namely that we were experiencing, we as men, a kind of collective frustration that was mutating into a revolt against all of the things that I just went through. So the question is, who is Tyler Durden? Well, Tyler Durden is an entire generation of men. It's us. And as such, we collectively want a kind of togetherness. We want a kind of unity. We want a kind of mass movement that's going to reconcile these depressive feelings that we have, which have been compounded in the 20 years since Fight Club was released. Remember, it was released in 1999. Well, since 1999, adding to the materialist trap that so men didn't feel a part of, or this kind of bureaucratization which outlawed initiative and risk-taking and courage, dynamism, literally dehumanized men. Added to that, we have a political structure that's targeting men as well, that literally wants to squeeze them out of Fortune 500 companies and government, eliminate them as the rightful leaders of society. And of course, we have the sexual marketplace, which is now a minefield that weaponized women against men. So interacting with women is now a very difficult, potentially dangerous experience. All of these things validate, in my view, the basic thesis of Fight Club, namely that there was something broken in our current incantation of modern civilization, that the modern world had turned left when it should have turned right, something of that nature. And importantly, that what was needed to address it was a revolt, a collective pushback from men. That, in my judgment, whether you agree with the direction or the trajectory that the film outlines or not, whether you think that it was a nihilist sort of Nietzschean undertone or not, whatever your opinions may be, at root was this idea that men needed to come together to push back against a broken system. And I think that every month that passes, that thesis is even more and more valid. So who is Tyler Durden? And is Tyler Durden building an army? We are Tyler Durden, and we are in the process of building an army. And that army consists of frustrated, angry, disillusioned young men and some older men that recognize, that have concluded that the modern world and the authority structures that it has built are cancerous, must be opposed, and ultimately must be replaced. That is neo-masculinity, and I believe that is where we are headed. Stay tuned for more, and we'll talk soon.